We're going to look at slope of a line today, and I just want to remind you we have this little slope dude skiing picture to help us kind of remember about what the different types of slopes look like, because if we can tell the difference between a positive and negative slope, it will really help us. So here we have Mr. Skier Dude, Slope Dude, and if he has to ski up the mountain, that's going to be really hard, and he's going to be puffing up the hill, right? I puff when I just walk up a hill, right? And so that means this is a positive slope. Positive slopes always angle this way. I like to say too that they rise to the right. That's being positive. Well, when Slope Dude gets to the top of the hill, it's going to be nice and easy because he's going to just like zoom on down. It's going to be super, super easy. So a negative slope falls to the right, falls right. And so when Slope Dude gets to the bottom of the hill, if he doesn't know how to stop, then he's going to zoom. Whoops, that's too many humps for my M's. But he's going to zoom. This is a zero slope. Okay? M is equal literally to the number 0. The slope is equal to 0. Well, if Slope Dude is zooming and he doesn't know how to stop, then when he gets to the edge, he's going to be falling off the cliff, and he's going to say, "Oh no, I'm falling off the cliff." And so this is no slope. And what I want you to think about is Slope Dude, he's going to be like, "Oh no, I'm falling off the cliff." Notice it's 0 in the denominator. Where here, when he's zooming, he's really happy because it's fun, right? It's fun to be zooming. Okay, and so 0 is in the numerator. Okay, so let's look at two ways. So we can have lots of different ways that we can have to find slope. Number one, we can have to find slope from a graph. And so if we're going to find slope from a graph, remember you want to locate 2 points with exact coordinates on the graph. So we don't want to pick a point that's like floating in the middle of 2 squares. Then we want to create a right triangle with a rise and a run. And then we write our rise over our run. Remember, it's always the rise over the run. And then we need to decide, is our slope positive or negative? Okay? So just looking at the first graph, like step 4, we almost should think about that from the very beginning. If our graph is sloped like this, if it's rising to the right, that is a positive slope. Remember, M stands for slope. This is going to be a positive slope. I'm sorry the lines aren't super dark here, but I think we can still do it. Here, you can draw your right triangle below the line or above the line. And see, I already have 2 points marked for you, but you see how they're nice exact points. They're not like 1.5, 2.5, or something like that. They're exact. And now we're just going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my rise. 1, 2, 3. That's my run. And so my slope would be 4/3. There's no need to change it to a decimal unless your answer choices are decimals. Let's leave it as a fraction. Okay, here's the second example. Let's decide, is this slope positive or negative? If it's falling to the right, remember that's a negative slope, so we know our slope is going to be negative. Okay, let's draw a right triangle. Again, you can draw it above or below the line. I'm going to draw it like this. Okay, my rise, 1, 2. My run, 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks, yeah. Sorry, the lines are hard to see. So I'm going to say 2/4. And then the only thing we would need to do with this is simplify it. 2/4 simplifies to -1/2. And so that's how you would see your answer. Okay, so to find slope from a graph, we can draw a right triangle. We can also use our slope formula which we'll talk about later. Okay, finding slope from a table. Okay, more than one way to do it, but I'm going to just talk about it this way, where we find the change in y and the change in x, and then we write it, the change in y over the change in x. So all we have to do is pick 2 points, and it can be any 2 points. So if you don't like negative numbers, then pick some numbers somewhere else on the table. So like from 9 to 11, we are adding 2. From 1 to 2, we are adding 1. This is the change in the y. This is the change in the x. So our slope would be 2 over 1, or simply 2. Okay, so same thing here. I just want to stress you can pick any 2 points from the graph. They don't even have to be points right next to each other. So if I wanted to pick the first point and the last point, I could absolutely do that. I think I'm just going to pick the first 2, though. To get from 5 to 2, we are actually subtracting 3. To get from -3 to -2, we are adding 1. I want you to note it's not always adding 1 with a change in the x, so don't assume that. You've got to make sure that you're reading your graph. So to get our slope, we're going to say -3 over 1, which is simply -3. And that's how we find slope from a table or from a graph.